What's going on, everybody? I'm sitting out here on my porch watching my 5-year-old do full-blown WrestleMania with his little kiddie pool. And my cat has ran outside into the grass and is currently eating the grass. But that's not why I'm doing a Facebook Live. I'm doing a Facebook Live with the title of To Mask or Not to Mask. That is the question. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this very controversial issue right now. This is dividing families, this is dividing churches, this is dividing communities. I have heard so many different perspectives on it. I'm going to probably use this Facebook Live as a podcast, and just curious to hear your guys' thoughts, versus also even curious to hear what things are like in your area. So shout out to everybody that's jumping in right now. I got Logan Vaughn is here, Sarah Bowen is here. What? My wife gets very nervous when I go live on Facebook. She just kind of pokes her heads out and goes,
"No, I don't. I'm just." That's not true. I'm just one.
What's up? I'm totally teasing. What's up? Okay. He has the lid to the sandbox in the pool, and he's using it as a kayak. Yeah, no, the cat is exploring and eating grass. Anyway, shout out to everybody that's jumping in here. Love to hear your thoughts. Masks are safe and good. It is only a mask. Why can't we wear it as a precaution of love and care? Logan Vaughn says, I feel like if you are keeping your distance, you don't have to wear one, but if you're close to people, put it on. So with those two statements right there are probably most people's perspective on this. I'm just going to be transparent with you guys. I was pretty anti-mask a couple weeks ago. Mainly just because I feel like I understand you wear a mask. I understand wearing a mask as if you would be sick, in the same perspective of if a doctor would wear a mask when he operates, they wear one to prevent their own germs from infecting somebody. Also, look, I'm sitting here right next to my screen. You know, if I shoot this screen with a bunch of, why are you laughing?
This is the cat.
He's taking a crap in the yard.
No, he's eating grass.
Anyway, if I shoot water up against the screen, the water is going to be stopped by by the screen, but obviously water still gets through. And that was kind of my same perspective on masks. I kind of felt like it was very similar, that it's not really preventing me, and someone sneezing on me, that mask is still going to allow COVID to get through. But mask song to anti-mask. Someone said I needed to do a song, 2 different songs, mask versus anti-mask. I saw somebody did a spoof of the Future song "Mask Off," which was absolutely hilarious. But anyway, Melissa says, I have asthma. I almost passed out the other day wearing a mask. Got pale and sweaty. Logan Vaughn says, I don't like when people get tested without feeling symptoms. I assume you meant symptoms. I'm in Michigan and we have a Governor Whitmer. Please pray for us. You know, it's funny you say that, Sam, because I just was in Michigan, and, you know, Florida's masks policies are pretty much up to the county. And so we don't have statewide mandates on stuff like that. Whereas I thought it was interesting that when I was in Michigan for a couple days, just to go into Chipotle, they're like, we won't serve you without a mask, right? And it was a $500 fine. So I'm finding it very interesting that the states that have Democratic governors versus Republican governors tend to be one extreme or the other. You know what I mean? Cherie says, no mask, but I will wear one to the store so I don't get hunted down, like what happened to me at Aldi's. Oh. Well, I had to fly, right? So this is the first time I flew in like 7 months. And I will say this is very interesting. I flew the other day, a couple days ago. I was a little concerned about flying. Now, obviously, flying was my life for 20 years. Now is an amazing time to fly because all the planes are half full. You can't sit next to anybody. And for like a 6'2" dude like me, like it's torture on a plane. So like I had nothing but space. It was so easy to get through the airport. I got upgraded, right away because of my status, because even first class was pretty empty. It's crazy, right? And everybody's masked up. There was, they were super great about the gloves. There was no like drinks being passed around. To be honest with you, I felt the safest on an airplane compared to a lot of places I've been in. You know what I'm saying? Well, you guys got a lot of comments. I'm going to read some more comments here. Nate Bates says, I live in Iowa. We don't have a mask mandate, but a few stores are making us wearing them. Sam said, can you do a song called Gimme That COVID Mask? In Belgium, we must shop and public travel with a mask. Mask or not, until someone you know personally dies from it, it doesn't seem real. We cannot stop living. We just need... I can't read the rest of your statement. Can you tell my daughter, Bailey, hey, she's a big fan. Hi, Bailey. Can't drink Mountain Dew with a mask, says Logan Vaughn. Kayla Blommer says, I think just keep your distance if you are concerned. If you choose to wear a mask, no big deal. But if you force it, I'm sorry the masks are affecting you that way. Anyway, I look at it like this. It's not too hard to just wear a mask when in public, and hopefully it helps limit the spread. Our governor in Minnesota has deemed it a mandate, but it's against my constitutional rights. So I play my physically exempt card. Nate Bates says, are you doing any drive-in tours? That's a no. I'm already over here all day. I work outside. Last thing I want to do is put on a mask. I feel if you want to wear a mask, wear one, but don't force me to wear one because it makes you feel better. Yeah, and it's interesting because I've seen all the extremes of this argument. I saw one post that basically showed that wearing a mask is the equivalent of the mark of the beast. They were saying that if you wear a mask, it's the equivalent of the mark of the beast because places won't let you purchase things without the mask, and thus the mask is the mark of the beast, which I thought was funny. But I'm like, some stores require you to wear shirt and shoes. Is the shirt and shoes like the requirement of the mark of the beast? Anyway, one thing that's been cool about the mask is seeing how people have expressed themselves. No one said it would stop the spread, just slow it. Everything helps at this point. See, well, it's interesting about that because from everything I've seen is that isn't the rate of COVID like 99.4% or something like that? That it's actually, anyway, there's 1,000 things we can dive into this. So maybe, I don't want to go down rabbit trail, so maybe we should stick with the mask aspect. Here's the other thing. So I played my first show last Saturday in Michigan, in southern Michigan, and every show I have has been canceled. Like every show, every possible event has been canceled, top to bottom, right? And this festival I thought was going to get canceled because I'm like, how in the world in one of the most restrictive states are you doing a festival? But they were like, no, we're moving forward with it. We're going to make it happen because we want to make this a outdoor event that people can socially distance and do it for recovery. But I can also tell you that there was, like in my little tent, it was small. Like I played the side stage. It was in a tent. There might have been 30 people. There's more people at my grocery store than there was in my show, my particular show. So people were definitely socially distanced and all that stuff, but nobody, except for like maybe 2 people I saw, was masked up. It's interesting to me because it was almost like for a state that is so restrictive, it almost was like this festival was like we're gonna go down the extreme with it. Jesse Haka says masks make you more sick. Demetrius say now they're talking about wearing goggles. Come to Europe next year and drop us some fire. So glad you got to play a show. But it was bizarre. It was bizarre playing my show because it was almost like I sat there on that stage and I was like, man, could this be like the last show I play in a long time? And then I even thought, what if I had to wear a mask on stage? Like, how in the world would I even like... It has been super interesting trying to do basic communication because I've been doing a ton of house repairs, so I've been going up to Lowe's like crazy and trying to do basic human communication with people while we're both wearing masks and there's a plastic partition in front of me. Like, I find that both of us end up going, what? And then we just reach around the glass partition, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? What? What'd you say? Totally side note too. is when I crack up when I see people with masks on in their car by themselves. I'm like, I don't think it works like that, sir. Lacey Wolf says if they make us wear goggles, let's just all wear armor like a knight. Come to Europe. Da 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 da. Sarah Beth says this virus isn't going away. We need to build immunity. You know, it's interesting. The one thing I don't see people actually even remotely talking about is how to build. I see it. You put the kayak in the pool? My child is wilding. Look at this kid. Look at this child. Look at. This is what he's done. Right? Not only that, see this mess right here? This is where he ripped apart a cardboard box because he threw it in the pool thing. Now he's got a he just turned over in the kayak. Oh, I did see you tip, Mr. Dip. Anyway, Sam says I ordered Mountain Dew masks off Amazon and they are awesome. Anyway, we just did a little short mini vacay, and it was just awesome to be outside and just like dipping in the water and out in this like cool, beautiful Florida Springs. Nobody had masks on because we were all pretty separate. Anyway, it's just an interesting time. It has also been interesting because of my church position. Part of one of my positions is over volunteers, and we have had volunteers who basically said, I'm not going to come back in until if masks are going to be a requirement. And I want to say first off, I think maybe at the beginning of this, I was a bit more judgmental about the whole thing, right? And as it progressed, I have been, one thing I feel like God has been laying on my heart is to be more understanding of where people's convictions, concerns, where people's feelings are on all of this. I do believe that we are called to put other people's needs before our own, obviously within reason, but I'm saying as a general rule as believers. And it was interesting because I had a studio session, and the person that was coming to the studio session, there's two things I've been doing lately. Is I said, first of all, is it okay if I shake your hand? You know what I mean? Because some people don't feel comfortable with that. And they were like, yeah. I said, also, for this studio session, would you feel more comfortable if I put a mask on and we all wore masks? And I did that for a reason. I did that because I didn't want them to have the impetus to have me be accommodating. I felt it was more important that I put aside whatever my feelings are. I saw you, bud. You just tipping like crazy. You sitting and tipping. Anyway, and the person who was coming to the studio session said, thank you for asking. Yes, I would actually. And I just feel like there's just, as a general rule, there is a lot to be said about understanding other people's convictions, hearts, attitudes, things of that nature. So, part of the other reason is like, it is 1,000 degrees down here. Like if I put a mask on, I'm like, I'm dying. I'm literally dying sitting right here. Just sitting right here in my porch. I'm sweating to death. I can't even imagine if I went full ninja. And that's the funny thing. This is where my twisted sense of humor is every time I go out now, I just picture people as ninjas. Just a ninja fight. Sam says, how big is your church? We average probably about 1,000, but we have been doing, I see it, buddy. But we have been doing we've been doing restricted attendance. So we've only been attending between the two services, I think close to 400. That's my guess. Patrick Duncan says, I can see the tests that prove that they work 100% and don't harm people as well. Maybe I'd wear them. But for me, after working, man, it's so funny. You guys are literally saying, one person is going, they don't work, the next person's saying they do. Lauren says it's all fear-based. With God, there is no fear. People are scared of what they don't know. I don't like one, but I also don't think it's worth getting into an argument with someone, so I wear it. I'm watching. That is awesome. Water dumping out of a canoe paddle. That is incredible. Courtesy. Shanna says, this is a great approach to put others first, totally the way Christ would have approached our world today. So I'll probably end with this. It's interesting. They voted for my town. They voted on, the city council did a vote with people. People could come in and they could chime in about the masks and things like that. And we had 3 people get arrested in the process of the whole mask vote, which did not end up passing, even though I think the city council was like pro-mask. Lauren Alden says masks don't work, and I work in healthcare. Seth Micah Birch says, but the Bible says to obey the laws of the land. That's interesting, because I've heard this argument for both sides. Meaning, I've heard people go, oh, well, if masks are mandated, we as believers should obey the laws of the land, so we should wear masks. What happens when the law of the land tells you to do something that it goes against God's law? I mean, there's a point in time where the law of the land was slavery is okay, where segregation's okay, where, I mean, there's 1,000 things that have been enacted as the law of the land, especially even the church. Are you putting that in the water? Especially when the church came in, you know, you're talking about the law of the land was that you had to bow down and worship Caesar, right? So, Zach says, I think the real crime is here is how come someone has not invented a mask that keeps your glass from fogging up? I could totally relate to that one, because when I put on my ninja mask and I go in the store, but I have to wear sunglasses, like immediate, I can't see. Now I can't breathe and I can't see. And there's nothing more scary than a ninja who can't breathe or see. I think if we kept the general rules of not sneezing and coughing on people, washing your hands, that would be great. I work in a cancer clinic and I have to wear a mask there because my doctor says we have to wear those to protect those. Gabe says, wear your mask so Bill Gates can't see you with his 5G towers. It's good. I keep trying to hit the see more and it's not working. Gabe Stevens says, wearing a mask isn't against God's law. No, I wouldn't say it is either. I'm just saying the argument sometimes of like, it's such an interesting time, you know, and I hate to say that, is this wearing a mask or is this type of situation similar to what Paul was talking about with meat sacrificed to idols? You know, there was a time in the Corinthian church where some of the Corinthian believers were like, I'm not eating that meat. It was sacrificed to a pagan idol. And then, you know, Paul was like, I will do all things to not make my brother stumble. I'm not saying these two things are equivalent. I'm just saying I wonder if it's similar in principle. Paul was like, meat sacrificed to idols is nothing. You should just eat and give thanks. But he's like, if I have someone who I'm with who, you know, can't stand the thought of eating meat sacrificed to idols, then he's like, I won't. You know what I mean? So Paul really lays down just a real principle of like looking out for your brother, right? Aaron Mitchum says, masks block the chemtrails. You know what I love about my fan base probably the most is you guys are easily as snarky and as sarcastic as I am. Where do you think we would be if the government never enacted anything? Just your opinion. Chris Kristen says, nice hair. Speaking of hair, here's the deal. Like, being back in Florida after being gone in Michigan, my hair just automatically went like full-blown Kramer hair. My cat is back from an adventure, apparently. Mark says, I work in healthcare, and even though a mask won't completely help keep you from getting COVID, it will help in cutting down. Anyway, I just want to mention one thing. I do find with all the talk about masks and vaccines and hydrochloric acid and 1,000 other things. Stop getting the cat wet. I find it interesting that nobody has really even talked about what it means, what you can practically do to raise your immune system, which is our God-given way of fighting off diseases anyway, right? You're a bad little child, you know that? Like, we haven't talked about the obesity epidemic that's in our country. We haven't talked about the processed food that we eat that is just filled with, antibiotics that lower our immune system. We haven't talked about the soda, the processed sugar, you know what I mean, that we eat, and all these things and how badly they, hurt your immune system. We haven't talked about how important it is to get just simple sunlight every day, you know what I mean? I watched this little thing about, they were saying, and again, it could be wrong, I don't believe everything I read on the internet, but they're just basically saying that there's a connection between a lack of vitamin D and certain blood types and people that do actually contract COVID, which, vitamin D can be just simply remedied by going out and getting 30 minutes of sunlight every day. You know what I mean? So, like, someone's like, you are hilariously entertaining to listen to with your child. What do you want? Can you shut the door, please, Jakey Bear? Well, you have a kayak in a pool. That's right. What about it? Someone said, how old is your son? I have my 13-year-old sitting over here silently, and then I have my 5-year-old in the other one. Isaiah. I have my Zay bird. He's inside. He is 9 years old. Anyway, I'm just saying, I just find with all this talk about vaccines and masks and all these things, which in my humble opinion are reactive to a problem, we haven't talked about anything that could be proactive to the issue of not just COVID, but anything, I can say that in the last 5-10 years where I've done a complete revamping of my health, and this is someone who used to get chronically sick all the time, chronically sick back in the day. Eliminating processed foods, even lately, changing even the way that I work out. I do about 30 minutes to an hour of intense, intensity training, which has been phenomenal for me. Making sure I do get out in the sun every single day, proper rest, proper sleep. Like, these are just basic things that we all knew, but these are so proactive. Ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. But then again, this is coming from the guy who wrote the Coke Fried Cheeseburger song and the Mountain Dew song, so y'all ain't trying to hear that.
The ship is coming out.
The what is coming out?
Ship.
Oh, you took the ship out? Are you really ringing a dinner bell? Are you? Oh my gosh. My wife found a cowbell and now thinks she's on the prairie. All right. Anyway, I'm not saying like I'm so great or you're so bad. I'm just saying since I've revamped my health in the last 5-10 years, I have not. I can't even remember the last time I've gotten like really sick. And if I do, it's like my recovery time is super short, like barely even 24 hours. Anyway, someone said lunch at 2:30 in this house. Children get up. It's like rock stars around here. Anyway, all right, peace, y'all. Continue to drop some comments. Hope you guys have a great Friday. Hopefully, my children will someday have a real pool.